What is going on, everyone? So we are going to be reacting to Dark Five's video and channel today. This is going to be 5 most haunting British insane asylums with dark past. Now, I do remember that I reacted to this video back on my old channel, and like I said, I hate that I keep referring to my old channel, but I mean, I reacted to a lot of these before I deleted it, but uh, it's not that I remember the video itself, but I distinctly remember myself talking about the subject of haunting insane asylums on a Dark 5 video. And I mean, I don't know exactly what I said about it word for word, but I mean, I'll just kind of give you like a brief rundown as far as like what I generally know about insane asylums back in the day. So insane asylums, obviously people know that people were mistreated during those times in those insane asylums. Examples being like usually the buildings would be kept in very poor conditions. There would usually be like human feces and urine all over the floors and stuff. Like people were just very dirty and unclean. People have died in these places, and people would be dropped off at these places for, you know, little to no reason during those times. Like for example, being gay was considered to be a mental illness back in those times, so you know, people will be put in these insane asylums because of that reason. Then you have like children, they would be dropped off at a place like this, not because there was anything really wrong with them, but just because sometimes family members just don't feel like taking care of their kids anymore, and will drop them off at a place like this, because usually in insane asylums usually have like a separate building on its own, specifically made for children. They would never have children and adults in the same building, but yeah, I'm just saying it's usually like a separate building that they would keep them in. And you know, just because they didn't feel like taking care of either their children's, or they didn't feel like taking care of a family member who probably need the assistance, they would just drop them off at places like this because they just didn't want to take care of them anymore, and they would be mistreated. That's why a lot of these places was put on things like haunted abandoned buildings. Usually the haunted abandoned places are usually either a state penitentiary, or it's usually asylum or something, or a hospital, where they were, you know, a hospital that has been converted into an asylum. So basically that's my main point there. You know, as far as talking about that, is these places usually have done a lot of horrible things in the past, giving the people that's here like very harsh punishments for acting out of line. A lot of these people were very hateful that, you know, worked in these places, and it's a very sad thing, especially the fact that some of these people have stayed in these places and died. It just kind of makes their existence just seem that much more sad when you know, realize that they probably just lived out their existence in this place and died as a result of the treatment here at these places. So let's go ahead and hop into this and see what this video has to offer us. But from what I remember, this is a good video. All right, Sand Hill Park. Okay, so one more thing you gotta understand, this is one of the older Dark 5 videos, and like I said, older Dark 5 videos, they didn't narrate their videos, so I'm gonna have to read. And I also came prepared and turned the volume down on this video because the music that be playing during these videos bump so loud. So let's go ahead. Sand Hill Park. Sand Hill Park was built in 1720 and had become a deserted country house before being opened in 1919 as a care facility for girls. It was then turned into a hospital for mentally retarded. Okay. For mentally retarded, and the reason why they put the quotations right there is because usually when these children got put in there, it was never, I mean, I'm not going to say never, but in some cases, there it was nothing wrong with these children. It was simply just because they didn't feel like, families just didn't feel like taking care of the kids anymore and would dump them off in a place like this. So that's why they have the quotations like, yeah, mentally retarded, because some of those cases, it was nothing wrong with these children. But you know, people who get admitted into places like this and don't have any type of mental illness of some kind will eventually end up getting the mental illness because they're in a place like this and they're mistreated constantly. So obviously they're going to eventually develop some sort of, you know, mental illness in these places. Okay, so mentally retarded children in 1925, and it quickly sealed its reputation as a ghastly place. The British military seized the property in 1940, and it was even leased to the American government for a few years as a POW camp. When it was eventually sold off in 1990 by the UK's National Health Service, many attempts were made to use the buildings, but it finally became derelict. I think that's how you pronounce it. That word means like in poor condition. Like I said, that's basically what it meant. I just forgot how to pronounce that word, but it would later be gutted by fires in an arson attack and now stands ready for demolition. The ruins are renowned for paranormal activity witnessed by locals. Many visitors have reported doors being slammed shut, as well as noises that can't be traced in strange, eerie whispers, most often of those of children, along its many corridors. Light switches were known to switch on and off by themselves, and cold spots proliferated the building for no apparent reason. See, man, if I ever were to do something like this, I need like a crew of people. You will never catch me doing this by myself. There is a widespread belief amongst ghost hunters that Sand Hill Park is one of the most haunted places in England. Helen Lee Hospital, as known as East Sussex Mental Asylum, Helen Lee opened its doors in 1903. The Victorian-style property was on a vast scale. Across many buildings on isolated land, and included a water tower, store, dentist office, and even its own train line. My mouth is so dry. Home to both the mentally insane and mentally defective children. You could have just said that at the beginning. You didn't have to say, you know, that word. I was just only quoting them earlier, but yeah, you could have just said mentally defective or mentally insane in the, you know, first one. Mentally defective children. Helen Lee had nearly 2,000 residents at its at its peak. Abandoned children were housed in the hospital, while women who had children out of wedlock were incarcerated there too. Oh my God. The place with this labyrinthine theme, whatever, corridors was considered frightening by former patients and children who lived there. Many of whom recall a distinctive smell of death and decay, and many unsettling memories of Helen Lee Hospital. I'm sorry, my throat is just really dry. I'm not used to talking this much during the video, but since I'm reading, I'm going to be stumbling a lot because my voice, my throat is just really fucking dry. Okay. Finally, abandoned in 1994, urban explorers of the property found creepy underground passageways, some of which had to be crawled. Did they do it? By late 2015, the main buildings had been cleared and a housing estate built there with extensions to existing facilities, okay? Claims of strange noises and unsettling vibes in the area around what was East Essex Mental Asylum continue to be documented. Lucian Park. Lucian Park. Let me know if this music is like very, very loud, because I could barely hear myself. Lucian Park started out in 1874 as an orphanage for the education and support of the orphans of British sailors. The orphanage closed in 1951, and Lucian Park then turned into a hospital for the mentally insane, the terminally ill, and the aged. The building became rife with tales of haunting. One female nurse kept complaining about seeing apparitions. And was later found dead in a corridor. Oh my God, what the hell? The ghost of a small boy was said to haunt the attic and slam cupboards and doors. Oh my God, that's horrible. That is not a coincidence. And it was thought he may have died in one of the attic cupboards where naughty children were locked up for days as punishment. You see what I'm saying? Visitors have reported a sense of dread when inside the building. Items go missing, only for them to show up later somewhere else. The disembodied voices of children are heard, and small shadowy apparitions have been seen running around rooms. It is claimed that Lucian Park is possibly haunted by the souls of children who died while in the orphanage, and who numbered as much as 16,000 such children, all of whom were cremated and whose ashes were buried in a pit in the on-site morgue. They wasn't even respected in death. Oh my God. No wonder this place is haunted. Baro Hospital. Baro Hospital. Like I said, I'll probably just go back over this during my editing process, and I'll just see if you're able to still hear me doing these videos. And if you can't, then next time I'll just be pausing it every time subtitles come up, you know, the next time I look at a video like this. Baro Hospital opened in 1938 and was used by the Royal Navy during World War II to treat men with psychiatric illnesses. The Naval Hospital was decommissioned in 1946, and it was transformed into a civilian insane asylum run by the country's NHS. It would close in 2005, with its demise hastened by it being cited as the dirtiest hospital in Britain. Unlike other asylums, however, Baro Hospital was renowned for its pioneering work in the humane treatment of the mentally ill. Nevertheless, there have been various claims over the years that the sprawling property's colony of buildings is hugely haunted. The site attracted paranormal activity hunters, many of whom claim to have spotted many ghosts and apparitions. The key word is claimed. Visitors to the abandoned asylum reported hearing unexplained footsteps and whisperings, and even the inexplicable crying of a baby. It also became famous for its disturbing graffiti, including a life-size rendition of Pennywise the Clown from Stephen King's It. Whittingham Psychiatric. Founded in 1869 and opened in 1873, the asylum became the largest in Britain and second largest in Europe, with of over 4,000 staff. Okay, they probably forgot to put some words in. Of over 4,000 staff and inmates by 1939, Whittingham had a church, farm, railway, post office, orchestra, and even a brewery. Conditions were appalling in the asylum, with a complaint by resident nurses in 1967 sparking a major national inquiry, which resulted in the facility's decline and eventual closure in 1995. Mental health care professionals considered it the worst place to work in Britain. Its reputation was not helped by the many reported allegations of it being haunted. Student nurses were especially adamant about certain sections being haunted, as were many visitors to the facility. Over the years, there were many reported sightings of the ghosts and ghouls, as well as blood-curdling screams and cries out for help. Oh shit. And people stayed working there. I don't understand. Allegedly, apparitions have been caught on camera since the asylum closed its doors, including during one ghost tour, in which a figure appears to hold a newborn baby. It's well known that many unknown mothers were sent to the asylum in the last 1800s. Let me read that last part again. In which a figure appears to hold a newborn baby. It's well known that many, I'm going to assume it meant to say unknown. No? I'm sorry. It's not short for unknown. It literally just says unwed mothers. Oh my God. My bad. I was reading that shit wrong. I seen like some typos and shit in here, and I thought that this is just another typo, but it says unwed mothers. So were sent to the asylums in the last 1800s. That was my fault, y'all. That was my fault. I read it wrong because I seen typos in it already, and I just thought it was another typo. So that was my fault. But you see what I'm saying about these asylums, right? These places were, very messed up places in general. And all of them seem to basically say the same thing, is that there are hauntings in all of these places, and rightfully so. I mean, these people, look what these people had to go through in the living, you know what I'm saying? While they were living in these places, the places was unkept. They were mistreated. Some died as a result of the mistreatment that they were going through. Even in death, I think they said that they cremated them and put their ashes in a pit. I think that's what one of them said. Yeah, okay, so this one right here, it says, as much as 16,000 such children, all of whom were cremated and whose ashes were buried in a pit in the on-site morgue. See, this is why this is so sad, is because these were people at one point, okay? These were living, breathing people such as you and, myself and you. And I'm pretty sure you couldn't picture yourself being in an asylum like this and being treated that way, to the point where, because it just makes it seem like your existence is just sad. You lived a sad existence. You were put into a place like this because either you did have some sort of mental illness, or and that's the thing too, because a mental illness could be anything. Like most people assume that when people say a mental illness, that just means that they're just like insane, but a mental illness could be anything. It could be like, a mental illness could be like depression, like a really bad state of depression or something. That could be counted as a mental illness. Schizophrenia, even though schizophrenia could be a very bad thing, it could also be mild too. Like a person can be like completely normal, but they could just do things like just talk to themselves, or they like hear like voices or whatnot that talk to them, or things like that. It can be a very serious case or a mild case of mental illness. So it's like a person can just have a mental illness of any degree and be put in places like this simply because of that. So that's why this is so sad, because I'm pretty sure like a lot of those people who were there probably didn't even deserve to be there, and a lot of children who were put in these places probably didn't deserve to be put in these places. And honestly, the way that these people were treated during their times there, I would just honestly say that none of these people that were actually here in these asylums should have been here at all. As a, I'm just saying, like, in general, like the way that they were treated, they didn't deserve to be treated like this. That's why it's just so sad, because they didn't have any way of defending themselves, because that some people really did have real, like, fucked up mental illnesses that kept them from really standing up for themselves. And mentally ill people are usually people who can be mistreated more easily than your average person, because they lack the capacity to be able to stand up for themselves. And it's just sad seeing some of these people live and die in these conditions. So it's just a sad thing, but that's just what's going on in my mind as I'm looking at this video here. But thank you guys for watching this video with me. I didn't mean to make this a very sad subject, but I mean, sometimes we look at things about ghosts and stuff, and sometimes we look at real things, like in Dark 5 and Top 5 Unknowns. They're usually channels that focuses on real things that actually happened at one point in time. And sometimes people just need to understand just how how messed up this world seems to be. So that's all I really got to say, man. So like I said, thank you guys for watching this video with me. I'll put the link in the description box below so you guys can check out Dark 5's original video and channel in the link, and I will see you guys in the next one. All right, peace.